I want to get back to my opening comments about Einstein predicting the day would come when technology surpassed human interaction and the world will have a generation of idiots. Now, fairly prescient, because as I was saying about the editorial, you know, it is all-consuming, and we're all guilty of it, and we all do it. I cut you off earlier. You were talking about, in part of your book, you were talking about social media, and that is a very dangerous thing for young people, isn't it?
It can be, and it's been such a massive shift, and it can be really difficult for, you know, parents as educators to actually catch up to what's going on, because Snapchat didn't even exist as a social media platform 5 years ago. It's now got absolute hundreds of millions of users, and very active users are usually your 13 to 17-year-olds. They're sending an average of 100 Snapchats every single day. So it's a completely different...
One person was in the 100?
Yep, absolutely. Because Snapchat's disposable. It's even more disposable than Twitter. So it's moving really, really rapidly, and it's such a huge shift that, you know, it's so difficult for people to get their heads around. It's just a fascinating thing. It's amazing to see, you know, how life has changed for us. Social media can be brilliant, it can speed things up. Twitter's fantastic, but I saw a great thing on Tumblr a few years ago, which was basically you picture someone with a smartphone and they're saying, I have this device in my hand that can basically give me all of the documented and combined knowledge of the world, and I use it to look at cats on the internet and have arguments with complete strangers. And that's really summed it up. It's the human nature angle, that we waste our time on social media instead of connecting and learning and absorbing and really engaging in life.
I've been on Facebook for years. I got the limit of 5,000 friends, etc.
Yes.
And they unfriend me when I attack somebody and I lose a few. But I've found myself now, when going to bed, I'll hit on Facebook, and I've got my own editorials up there all the time, but I'll hit that feed, the news feed, and suddenly it'll take me off, and that's interesting, and it'll hit me out of some little video, and suddenly half an hour's gone.
Yes, it's such a time suck, it's amazing.
Are you a social media feed?
Yes, I am. I am an absolute fiend, and after, you know, when we were talking about the show tonight, I must say, and Piggate, you know, with David Cameron,
Pigsgate,
yeah, well,
the Bay of Pigs, they call it now.
I spent some quality time this afternoon, not speaking to my partner, but following the pig on Twitter. So,
well, there's a David Cameron pig.
David Cameron's The Pig has got its own Twitter feed. I can't remember how many tens of thousands of followers the pig has, but the pig's telling...
See, the day the story broke about...
side of the story.
The day the story broke about David Cameron putting his appendage into a dead pig, as an initiation as a young man, Twitter almost broke down. I mean, that was just... Pigsgate went everywhere. You couldn't read anything else.
Yeah. I think it does go on to that thing that, you know, Snapchat, yes, you know, they promise that it disappears and it disappears, and it's not like passing a note in class. But everything else that you do out there is going to be...
Well, I think, without going into detail, I think some of us, Fiona, would be fairly lucky that iPhones and pictures didn't exist when we were 20.
Yeah.
So glad it didn't. I'm so glad it didn't. It wasn't around when I was a teenager.
It's funny. It's something I've wondered about.
Poor old Andrew O'Keefe was one of the first TV people to get hit, when he was somebody with an iPhone or the early equivalent videoed him lying drunk in the gutter in Paran.
Yeah. It's something I've been thinking about, because you know, people say, well, you know, what about you when you go for that job interview and they then pull up the photos of your 21st or the photos at somebody else's 21st or whatever, and I tend to think that, as Steve Jobs said, you know, you don't worry about privacy, you haven't got it anymore. You know, get over it. And I think we will take that into account, and I think we do already, that we, you know, we know...
Although, if you're a young Labor or a young Liberal person at the annual conference in Canberra, you keep your clothes off and keep the third bottle of wine hidden, I think.
You'd hope.
It's a pretty good idea. If you're going to run for Prime Minister somewhere down the track, that's good advice, isn't it?
It is good advice, but it's probably, you know, we don't want, you know, we don't want a whole bunch of monks becoming Prime Minister, or, you know...
you don't want to completely live in fear either.
That's right, and I tend to think that they will also be judged by their peers, and their peers were...
Just as guilty,
as guilty.
But they didn't inhale, that's all right. All right. Marina, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks very much for having me, Derryn.
And Fiona, always good to have you here.
Yep, thank you, Dan.
Thank you. That's it from me. Paul Murray will be in the Sydney chair at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll join him as usual on PM Live on Tuesday night. That's life. Good night.